Hi, I'm Robin.
And I'm Chris. Together we're the Gen X couple.
Hey guys.
Take one. Hello, everyone.
I wanted to start the episode by saying it's Give a Hug, Ladybug. If you listened all the way to the end of our last episode about Old Ironsides or the USS Constitution, I said at the very end, I thought there was something that came after In a Wild Crocodile. And there was. It's Give a Hug, Ladybug. So now we're all on the same page. But today we're going to talk about something that's getting my heart all aflutter. Something that I get so excited about. I'm so excited to talk about this today.
Is it marsh?
It is not marsh. It's better than marsh, if that's even possible.
Bite your tongue.
Today, we're doing a deep dive into my all-time favorite ride at Disney, the Haunted Mansion. You guys, it's the best ride. And today we're going to explore its history, its incredible design, the hidden details, the differences between the Disneyland version in Anaheim and the Walt Disney World version in Orlando. And plus, we're going to talk about ghosts, Easter eggs, Madame Leota, and even the people that made the ride possible, Master Gracey.
Yeah, and when we say people who made this ride, we're talking about the Imagineers. Mm-hmm. For anyone who doesn't know, Imagineers are basically Disney's creative engineers, designers, artists, and storytellers, all rolled into one role. They don't just build rides, they craft experiences. Every detail from the layout of the room to the lighting, music, props, and special effects is carefully designed to tell a story and make you feel like you're part of it.
Exactly. So the Imagineers don't just make things look cool, they're creating an entire immersive world. They think about the story, the characters, how the guests move through the space, what they see, hear, and even feel under their feet. For the Haunted Mansion, that means coming up with ghostly illusions, eerie effects, humorous gags, and a sense of mystery that works whether you're riding for the first time or the millionth, like myself. And be aware that this episode is going to contain some spoilers about how the magic is created. So if you don't want to know, turn back now.
So we're going to walk through all of it from the approach to the mansion, the stretching room, the Doom buggy rides through the ballroom scene.
And he said Doom, D-O-O-M, just in case you guys didn't catch that.
We'll compare the versions in Anaheim and Orlando, talk about Madame Leota, hidden jokes, and even the music and sign design.
Yeah. For me, it's a ride that I never, ever get tired of. In fact, we're actually planning a day at some point when we move to Orlando and live down there where we just go and ride and re-ride the Haunted Mansion all day long. Because that's how amazing this ride is.
Yeah, we want to set a new world record for the most times on the Haunted Mansion.
I don't have to set a record. I just want to do it because it's so awesome. I always say that Disney... Well, either one, Disney World or Disneyland, would make a small fortune if they offered a behind-the-scenes tour to this ride, because I would do that every single time I visited. I want that so bad. But anyway, I could talk about this all day. But like I said, it's a ride that I never, ever get sick of. Every time I go through it, I notice something different, which is so easy to do. You notice a new ghost or a funny pun on one of the gravestones or a detail on one of the portraits. And today, hopefully, we're going to give you guys that same sense of discovery.
So we're going to give you a step inside the Haunted Mansion to explore the Disney's Imagineers and uncover why this ride has captured me and Robin's hearts.
Yeah, especially mine. I just drag you along for the ride.
No, I like it.
I know you like it, but I don't think you love it as much as I do. I know you like it a lot, but I love it. I'm obsessed with it. Those Disney people are just geniuses, honest to God. But before we jump into all the ghosts and all the gags, let's set the stage with some history. Because the story behind the Haunted Mansion is almost as fascinating as the ride itself. So the original ride in Anaheim opened in 1969, and it was one of Walt Disney's last major projects. He had been obsessed with haunted houses for years, another reason I love this man, but he didn't want to go a traditional, terrifying haunted house route. He didn't want anything that would make kids cry or scare anyone. Walt wanted something playful, theatrical, and clever. Spooky, yes, but with humor and charm woven throughout the ride.
So these Imagineers, they considered architecture, lighting, sound, props, pacing, illusions, and even psychology, designing how guests feel, move, and react. For the Haunted Mansion, that meant combining humor, creepiness, and technical innovation into a ride that feels alive.
Yeah, and they really brought that vision to life. But think about how ambitious that was in the 1960s. Walt wanted guests to walk through a mansion filled with ghosts, illusion, and interactive effects. And this was long before computers or CGI existed. The Imagineers had to figure out stretching portraits, disappearing guests, floating objects, and a ghostly ballroom, all using what they had: mirrors, lighting, mechanics, and clever artistry. And somehow, you guys, they did it perfectly.
And the Disneyland's version, it has the classic Southern Gothic New Orleans square look. Mm-hmm. Perched at the edge of the park, the exterior sets the story. The wrought iron fences, creeping vines, dim lamplight make it feel like a mansion that could truly house ghosts. And even the approaching landscape were designed to build suspense before you enter.
Yeah, I don't know if I have this in here later or not, because I can't remember. But the exterior for both rides is completely different. So the outside of the house in Orlando is nothing like the house in Anaheim. And then there's the stretching room, which is iconic, you guys. That's the beginning of the ride. And here's a fun fact. In Anaheim, the stretching room actually is an elevator. If you didn't know that, now you know. And knowing is half the battle. As the ceiling rises, the portraits elongate and reveal hidden, often funny or creepy things. And you're physically lifted a few feet, but that adds to the illusion. You really feel like the room is stretching, and that slight movement gives it a disorienting, ghostly kind of effect.
Now, we're in Orlando, the stretching room is stationary. Mm-hmm. The illusion is created entirely through panels and mirrors, but the floor doesn't move. So Anaheim gives you that extra little thrill that most visitors don't even notice consciously, but it really enhances the experience.
It does. I don't think a lot of people realize it's an actual elevator in California, but it is. And that's one of the many reasons that Anaheim feels so clever. Every detail is meant to reward close observation, like the candelabra that moves as you pass, or the clock running backward, which we have a little mini version of here at our house, or the skeletons doing tiny little subtle gags. It's a slower, more mysterious buildup, I'd say.
And Disney World's version, which opened in 1971, it ramps up everything. Mm-hmm. The stretching room is taller, the ball scene is massive, and the ghosts feel all around you. It's like a theater immersion, more of a spectacle than an intimate discovery. The music is layered, the sound effects are bolder, and the ride feels grander because of the scale.
Yeah, I don't know if I put this in here, but we should talk about the Phantom Manor at Disneyland Paris at the end if I didn't, because I don't remember. I did this like 2 months ago. But yeah, like I said, even the exterior for both of the haunted mansions are different. Anaheim's mansion feels kind of tucked into its space. There are trees, gates, and pathways that give it an air of secrecy, while Orlando's mansion is part of Liberty Square, and it's open, so it feels bigger, more imposing. The Imagineers carefully considered how the approach affects anticipation, and you really get it feels different in each park.
And the music, of course, ties it all together. Grim, grinning ghost plays throughout, but the Anaheim's version is slightly more understated. You hear it echoing in the hallways and ballrooms, like the ghosts themselves are humming it. While in Orlando, it layers with organ music, whispers, and hidden effects, making you feel the ghost that they're all around you.
Yeah, until you're in the graveyard scene, and then they blast it.
Yes.
So when we talk about history and design, we're talking about Walt's vision, Walt Disney, the man. We're talking about Imagineer ingenuity. And we're talking about masterful storytelling through architecture, like Chris said, architecture, lighting, sound, and mechanics. Anaheim is more intimate, mysterious, and playful, while Orlando is more grand, immersive, and theatrical. But both are brilliant, just in different ways. And it's the little touches, like the elevator stretching room in Anaheim, that make it feel more magical.
Yeah, and I like the Doom Buggies feel, the portraits, Madame Leota, and all the other Easter eggs hidden throughout the ride.
Yeah, Madame Leota is my favorite. And we'll talk about her in more detail later, because that's a story in and of itself. But before we even board the Doom Buggies on the ride, we need to talk about Master Gracey, the ghostly host of the Haunted Mansion. He's the mansion's original owner, and here's a fun fact about him. His character was modeled after one of the ride's original designers, giving him a real-world connection to the creation of the attraction. Gracey's presence is subtle, but constant throughout the mansion, and the portraits, and the hallway decor, and the narration that guides you through the ride. He's the unseen hand orchestrating all the antics of the spirits.
Exactly. Imagineers design him to be intentionally mysterious. You'll see nods to him in paintings, a sly, knowing gentleman who seems to be watching over the mansion. He never appears overtly, but his influence is everywhere. He's like the thread that keeps the mansion feeling cohesive, like there's a real person behind the ghostly chaos. What we should talk about is right before you go in, when you're getting in line.
Yeah, this is in Orlando. I don't think they have it in Anaheim. I think I know what you're about to say right now. Are you talking about
13?
Oh, no, I thought you were talking about the gravestone for Madame Leota right in the queue in Orlando.
No,
that's another thing we'll talk about.
So this is a little hint. If the wait time says 13 minutes, quotation marks, bad luck, it means no minutes.
Yeah, that means the ride is walk-on. So, yeah, if you walk up and you see 13 minutes as a wait time, you're getting right on the ride. Yeah. So go, because there'll probably be a long line later in the day.
Yeah.
I don't know if I put this in the notes for later, but in the queue in Orlando is more interactive than the one in Anaheim. And if you're in the queue and you're waiting right outside the doors to go inside the building, on the left-hand side, Madame Leota has her gravestone is right there. And if you watch her eyes are going to open and she'll look around and she'll blink. And I don't think a lot of people know that. I have a video of it somewhere. I should put that on. I'm going to forget, but if I think of it, I'll put it on our Instagram because I have a video of it. It's really cool.
And you have all the gravestones with the funny ways people passed away.
Yeah, there's a story with the busts when you first walk in. It's like so complicated because if it's a walk-on, you don't get to go through the extra part of the queue. But if it's a long line, there's an extra part of the queue in Orlando that you go through, and that's more interactive. And then there's busts with a backstory about murder.
Yeah.
And then there's like
moving books.
And
if you look closely enough, and this is one of the Easter eggs, on the floor, on the ground, there will be a wedding ring in the walkway. You have to look for it. I'm not going to tell you where, but it's in the line queue, and you have to look on the ground for the wedding ring.
Well, we will tell you that it's in the queue in that extra part in Orlando. Because if it's not open, if it's a walk-on, you're not going to go through that extra interactive part. But if you walk through that part, it's in there somewhere. And
so
I think I lost my room.
When you're walking into the queue,
I said room, but
waiting in line, what does the Disney cast members say? You're waiting in line. What did they always say? You know this.
I do know it. And now that you're putting me on the spot, I can't think of it.
Fill in.
Oh, fill in all the dead space.
Yes.
And go to the dead center of the room. Yes. You put me on the spot, and I was like, oh my God, what did they say?
That.
I do know that. I know.
You say it every time.
I do. I know the entire opening sequence. I know every word of the stretching room.
So, and all the cast members outside, they never smile.
They never smile.
They have a solemn face, and they're saying in a monotone voice, fill in the space, fill in the dead space.
Yeah.
Go to the dead center.
Drag your bodies to the dead center of the room. There's one guy that works in Orlando, and we go a lot, so I've seen him a lot. He's probably he's one of the cast members. I don't know. I would say he's somewhere in his 40s. I'm sorry, sir, if you're younger. But he looks like he's in his 40s. He's real tall. Do you know what I'm talking about? And he's got like this face and he almost looks mad. Like he's perfect.
Yes.
I guess what I'm trying to say is he fits the role more perfectly than any of the cast member I've seen. And they all look great. They have amazing costumes. But this one guy makes the ride. And if you see him, he's like kind of scary and intimidating, and he's perfect for the ride. But anyway, we totally went off on a tangent. We were talking about Master Gracey, the mansion's owner, which is like we said, I don't even remember. It's a nod to the people who actually built the ride. Disney wanted a host who could tie the haunted narrative together while giving guests the feeling that the mansion itself was alive. From the portrait gallery to the attic, even the seance room, his presence is felt in how the ghosts behave and the subtle control they seem to follow.
Yeah, and his story also connects the mansion rooms. The seance room with Madame Leota, the attic with Constantine Hatchaway.
It's just Constance.
Constance Hatchaway. Even the graveyard. It all feels like it's happening under Gracey's watchful eye.
It is.
Some fans even speculate that he eventually became one of the spirits himself, which is a clever touch from the Imagineers, giving him both authority and presence in the afterlife of the mansion.
Mm-hmm. Master Gracey is what makes the Haunted Mansion feel more than just a ride. He's the invisible host, and he's the backbone of the story, the one that connects everything all together. Without him, it would just be a collection of haunted scenes, but with him, it's a world.
Yeah. And the anticipation is everything. You're surrounded by atmosphere before you even step inside. You reach the front door and you're already edge curious and a little unnerved.
Yeah, so the ride starts, like we already said, in the stretching room. So you get in, and we already said that it's an elevator. And
should we tell them our little...
No.
Okay.
No, we're not telling anybody. That's our secret for us to know.
All right, sorry, everyone.
Well, now I feel like we have to. I don't know if we're supposed to be giving out Disney secrets. Let's give it at the end as an incentive. We have a little trick for you to get through the ride faster.
Yes.
And if you listen to this entire thing, because we still have like another half hour to go, this is a long one. I love this ride. We'll tell you at the very end a little secret to get through the ride a little faster.
Okay.
And I don't even know where I was. I think I was talking about the stretching room. And so the ceiling rises, the walls seem to stretch. And I don't even know. I lost my spot.
The portraits are a creepy guy with a noose, a vampire,
that's what I was going to say.
A skeleton playing a violin. Some are hilarious, and like a ghost sneaking snacks, or a prankster ghost with a sign that says, "Your death notice has been mailed."
Yeah, and because the room is actually moving upward in Anaheim, you do get the subtle floating sensation. It's not scary, you guys, at all, if you've never been on this ride. But it can be a little disorienting, I think, if you don't know what's coming. Of course, once you've been on it once, you know what's coming and you're fine. But that's the moment, I think, that people realize this isn't just a ride. It's an experience.
Yeah, and Orlando version just is the same, but they just use mirrors and lightning to give the same illusion. You don't move, but your perspective shifts, and it's still a super effect.
Yeah, so after you go through the stretching room, and we will give you a little tip to get through the cluster of people in the stretching room at the end of the episode, you're all kind of shuffled toward the Doom Buggies, DOOM, and those are the ride vehicles that snake through the mansion's hallways. And that's when the ride truly begins to unfold. The Imagineers meticulously planned every single angle, the way the vehicles move slowly, the pacing of each turn, the curves, the tiny drops, the shadows, and the layered sound effects. It's all orchestrated so you feel like the mansion itself is alive around you.
Yep, you notice the hallways lined with portraits. Some of them are following you with their eyes.
No, the busts are definitely following you with their eyes, and it's an amazing optical illusion.
And it's unsettling, but
it is.
The portrait appears innocent at first glance, but they might change as you pass by. A lady in a dress and you look at another angle, and it's going to become a skeleton.
Yeah.
These are the details that make the mansion feel like it's watching you.
Yeah, and there are so many mechanical effects that are just hidden in plain sight. There are candelabras that flicker and move as if someone just blew on them, and the clock that ticks backwards. We have a mini one in our house, as I already said. It's awesome. The kids hate it because it makes a lot of noise, but they will get over it. And there are chandeliers that swing ever so slightly even when there's no wind. And then you'll hear whispers from unseen corners. There's faint organ music, an occasional ghostly chuckle, or the subtle shuffle of invisible feet on the floorboards. I forget if they have this in Anaheim. In Orlando, they have it up on the ceiling, on the staircases. You see footsteps.
Yes.
And just the stuff is so layered that even if you ride it time after time, new things will keep popping out at you.
Yeah, and then once you pass by a portrait and look at it at a different angle, you might see a smiling gentleman that transforms into a grimacing ghost.
Mm-hmm.
There are dozens of hidden visual puns tucked into the frames, like a dog skeleton chasing a ghostly ball, or a tiny skeleton peeking from behind a curtain. Anaheim keeps these details small and intimate so you can catch them if you're paying attention, while Orlando enlarges the scale, making them more dramatic, but still very clever.
Yeah, and tiny ghost animals pop up unexpectedly, too.
Yes.
Like a cat with glowing eyes, or a bird perched on the coffin, even a mischievous rat skeleton peeking from a crack in the wall. The Imagineers designed these touches so that you're constantly scanning the ride to trying to catch the next little joke or whatever you would call it, detail.
So the conservatory scene.
Oh, I had my hand over the buzzer.
The mansion's whimsical side starts to shine. Plants move slightly as though something invisible has brushed past. Shadows of ghosts flicker on the walls, and flowers open and close in rhythm with the eerie music. Disneyland keeps the charm more subtle, but Orlando turns it into a spectacle, making the conservatory feel vast and almost otherworldly. But every single detail from the original ride remains intact.
Yeah, even small visual cues tell stories. A painting of a servant might wink at you, or a skeleton might appear somewhere, or a little hidden tombstone might have a pun that makes you laugh. It's the layering of effects that gives the impression that the mansion is alive and reacting to you specifically. That's what makes it feel so immersive, even decades after the attraction opened.
And the Doom Buggy system is just not transportation. It's a moving vantage point, perfectly calibrated so you can absorb everything around you. Mm-hmm. You're drifting through the mansion like a ghost yourself, seeing the subtle humor, the hidden gags, and the eerie surprises exactly as the Imagineers intended.
Yeah, and that's just the beginning of the ride, you guys. We haven't even hit the ballroom or Madame Leota yet, which are two of my favorite parts. Every time I go past the portraits and see the ghosts, I always catch a new detail, like a tiny ghost or a hidden musical instrument playing in the background. There's literally always something new to catch.
And the pacing is perfect. You never feel rushed. You move slowly enough to notice the details, but the ride still keeps you guessing about what's coming next. By the time you reach the ballroom, your senses are fully primed and you're expecting the next surprise. What do they say when the ride stops for whatever reason? Don't they say, like,
they do.
Ghosts have been
yeah, like, we're sorry for the delay, but the spirits have been
mischievous or
something like that. Like, usually when a ride at Disney stops, they'll say, sorry for the interruption, we're experiencing technical difficulties. Yeah. But on that ride, they'll say that
ghosts have been mischiefs and were...
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. I can't think of it. I'll think of it as soon as we end this. But yeah, they do. Everything is perfect for that ride. Like, everything is
specific.
Spooky.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah. So I love the ballroom scene, but before that is my favorite part of the ride. We're talking about Madame Leota, the most iconic character, I think, on the Haunted Mansion.
Now, Madame Leota is...
Whoa. Say that again.
Madame Leota.
Thank you. You said Madame Leota.
is the floating crystal ball head that summons the spirits in the seance room. Her voice and personality are spooky, playful, and completely theatrical. She's the perfect guide into the supernatural world.
Yeah, and here's a neat detail. Her voice was performed by Eleanor Audley, who also voiced Lady Tremaine in Cinderella and Maleficent in Sleeping Beauty.
I didn't know that.
Well, now you know, and knowing is half the battle. I think I said that earlier. G.I. Joe told me that. But that's why her voice is so commanding, mysterious, and mischievous all at once.
So in both Disneyland and Disney World, Madame Leota's crystal ball floats above a table surrounded by candles and mystical props. Imagineers used projectors and clever lighting to make it appear as if the head is actually hovering in midair, and the timing of her voice and the visual effect is perfectly synchronized.
Yes, and her incantations are spooky but playful. Two of my favorites are serpents and spiders, tail of a rat, call in the spirits wherever they're at. And then this other one that I like, rap on a table. It's time to respond. Send us a message from somewhere beyond. Oh, let's just do one more. Goblins and ghoulies from last Halloween, awaken the spirits with your tambourine. There's one more, so I just do it while we're here. Creepies and crawlies, toads in a pond, let there be music from regions beyond. And then you would hear, what do they play? Organ? Is it organ music? Yeah. So hearing those, I think, really set the mood. You're immediately immersed in this spooky world. It's not scary in a nightmarish kind of way, but it's delightfully eerie. You can feel the energy in the room shift as Madame Leota calls to the spirits. And then with every flicker of candlelight or reflection in the crystal ball, it makes you wonder what's real and what's actually illusion.
Yeah, and everything works perfectly, and you're made to believe the spirits are really being summoned. You can actually see the subtle movements in the crystal ball that make her seem alive, almost like she's reacting to the room.
Yeah, and after you leave the seance room, the Doom Buggies glide right into the ballroom, and this is, I think, one of the most magical parts of the ride. The room feels enormous, almost like you're stepping into a ghostly grand hall that's frozen in a perpetual celebration. Tons of ghosts are dancing, floating, mingling, and it's all created using Pepper's ghost illusions, mirrors, and strategic lighting. Don't worry, we'll explain that in a minute. But it makes them appear like they're actually moving throughout the space above you and in front of you.
Yeah, you'll notice skeletons playing instruments, ghostly couples waltzing, and objects like chandeliers, plates, and candelabras that seem to float in midair. Every movement is synchronized with the grim grinning ghost theme. So it feels like the ghosts are performing a coordinated, eerie dance just for you.
Yeah, there are tons of hidden gags. There's even a hidden Mickey in the plates on the table. So look for that. If you don't know what a hidden Mickey is,
that's a whole nother episode.
That should be a whole other episode. Yes. Half of the fun when the boys were little, bringing them to Disney World, were looking for hidden Mickeys because the Imagineers would hide Mickey shapes in all kinds of things. You find them in all kinds of places, but basically it's just, Mickey's head with the 2 ears. So it's like 3 balls, a head and 2 ears. But there is a hidden Mickey made out of plates on the table in the Grand Ballroom. So look for that next time you're on the ride. But those little details are what make the ride even more charming.
And the ceiling is part of the illusion too. Thanks to Pepper's ghost, some of the ghosts appear to float above you, creating the sense that the room extends far beyond what you can actually see. It's almost like you're looking into another dimension, a grand spectral party happening right in front of your eyes.
Yeah, now I feel like I'm out of order because I did put the Pepper's ghost explanation in here better, but maybe we should just talk about it now if you want to. And this is a spoiler alert. If you don't want to know how the ghosts appear in the ballroom, fast forward for a minute and skip this part.
Yes.
Do that now. Okay. So you're up on the second floor by the time you're looking at the ballroom. And below you, there are dummies, like mannequins.
Yes.
That's the word I was looking for, not dummies. Although they are dummies, but they're mannequins. And they're moving. So what you're seeing it as a reflection from a mirror. So they're moving below you, but it's reflecting in front of you through the mirror and the glass.
Yes.
I probably didn't explain that very well.
No, you explained it good.
Well, I explained it good because we're two dummies, but I don't know if I explained it good for all you guys. But they actually are moving. You're just seeing a reflection of it. And then after you go out of the ballroom, you drift out into the attic. And that's where you're going to focus on Constance Hatchaway. If you didn't know her name, now you do. And she's the infamous hanging bride. She's standing there in her wedding gown, holding a bloodied axe and positioned so that the lighting highlights her creepy grin.
So she's suspended in midair, and the Imagineers designed subtle motion into her figure. She might sway slightly, making her appear almost alive, like she's watching you, passed with calculated intent. Every detail tells her story. Her cracked mirror, the empty chest, her shadow looming across the attic beams.
Yeah, you have to pay attention, but if you do, the props around her will tell the story. There are the broken trunks that hint at her previous weddings. Old photo frames show faded silhouettes of her late husbands, and cobwebs drape over everything to give the feeling of decades of abandonment. Even the scattered objects on the floor, like a broken candlestick, a toppled chair, they tell a story of restless spirits and past mischief.
And there are many hidden small gags if you pay close attention. Tiny skeleton hands poke out from crates, or a ghostly shoe might slide across the floor as it just fell.
Yeah, it's storytelling through the environment. Constance doesn't, well, she does speak. She speaks at the very end.
Yes.
Well, what does she say?
Well, come back or something?
No, that's at the end. She says something, I forget what she says, because I focus on Madame Leota.
Yeah.
But she does speak. But her presence is so expressive, you immediately forget her character, which is sly, dangerous, and possibly she's a murderess. It's spooky, but it's Disney spooky, so it's not scary.
And it's a nice transition because the attic feels claustrophobic, dusty, and mysterious. Then you drop down into the graveyard, which is the exact opposite. Open, chaotic, and filled with humor and life. And from the other side, loud music.
Yeah, I love going through the graveyard scene because this is one area where I literally notice something different every single time. There's so much going on in there. And it's packed with so many puns on all the tombstones. There's tons of ghosts down there. You might see something, this might be inside or outside, I forget. Here lies a man who snored too loud or fell into his own grave. I feel like the Imagineers really loved layering humor into everything, and so even the stationary props are telling little ghost stories of their own.
And it's not just the tombstones. Ghosts interact with the environment in playful ways. Some are climbing out of graves, others are playing instruments, or dancing on the tombstones, or pretending to haunt the visitors. There's even a skeleton dog digging out the ground in one corner, a little nod to the animal spirits.
Yeah, there are a couple that pop up as you're going through, like mini jump scares, but I feel like you would see them coming, so it's not really scary. I love all the small narrative hints, too. Each ghost in the graveyard really has their own personality. There's one playing hopscotch. There's a skeleton trying to lift a gravestone, or maybe even one tripping over a barrel. It's like a snapshot of a ghostly afterlife filled with stories, and it's all happening as you float on through.
And for the Lando, the scale is even grander. The trees are taller, the tombstones are more numerous, and you can always catch something new, like maybe a ghost riding a miniature horse, or a skeleton reading a resting manual.
Yeah, and then after you go out of the graveyard, you think the ride is over, because I feel like on the first time I rode, I thought the ride was over, but it's not. One of the most memorable moments comes next, the hitchhiking ghosts.
Yes.
This is where the mansion really interacts with you, and it's awesome. It gives you the feeling that the spirits aren't quite done with you yet.
And the hitchhiking ghosts appear in a small, eerie corridor just before you exit. There are 3 of them: Phineas, Ezra, and Gus.
Yeah, did you know they had names?
I did not.
They do.
Each has their own distinct personality. Phineas is the tall, thin one holding a top hat, always looking a bit mischievous. Ezra is the short, rotund
means
fellow.
Chubby. I was trying to be nice.
With a lantern. And Gus is the little skeleton in a prisoner's ball and chain.
Yeah, the genius of the effect is how it feels like these ghosts actually come into your doom buggy on the way out. They don't physically move. It's an optical illusion created with mirrors and reflections. But when you glance over your shoulder, they appear right beside you or right on top of the dune buggy. Sometimes they're leaning, hovering, and sometimes they wave hello. One of them switches your heads. I forget which one it is. But it's just mirrors, and it's fun, and it's playful.
Yeah, the hitchhiking ghosts were some of the earliest examples of Pepper's ghost illusions that was applied to ride vehicles, showing how Disney could combine optics, mirrors, and timing to make you feel like the spirits were inside the buggy with you.
I knew that I had it in here somewhere. I don't know why I didn't have it earlier, but here's a possible better explanation for Pepper's ghost, because it is one of the key techniques that makes the Haunted Mansion feel so magical. And despite the name, it's not an actual ghost or a person. It's just a clever optical illusion. Take it away.
And it was invented in the 19th century by a man named John Henry Pepper, who used it in the theaters to make ghosts appear on stage. The trick uses a sheet of glass and strategic lighting. A hidden ghost figure is lit and reflected onto the glass pane, so it appears to be floating in the scene with the other physical objects.
Yeah, so I explained it not quite as eloquently. I guess I did it more eloquently when I wrote up the notes. But the ballroom scene, I think, is the most famous example of this, because the ghosts really do appear to float across the dance floor. Some of them fly around. Actually, I think there's portraits up on the wall where the ghosts come out of the portraits.
Yep.
And then, of course, the hitchhiking ghosts use a variation of the illusion, which combines mirrors and reflections to make it actually seem like they're in your doom buggy with you.
Yeah, it makes the ghosts feel three-dimensional and interactive.
Three-dimensional.
Yeah. And depending on your viewing angle, they'll disappear, reappear, and disappear, depending on where you actually sit in the buggy also.
Yeah, the Pepper's Ghost is the foundation for the ride's most memorable effects. Oh, wait. It's still me. So, my bad. So, now for one of my favorite little touches, especially if you've been on the Orlando version. It's the end of the ride line from Madame Leota. So after all the ghosts, the ballroom, the graveyard, the hitchhiking ghost, just as you're heading toward the exit, you can hear a little voice saying, "Hurry back. Be sure to bring your death certificate." It's such a small line, but it's a perfect send-off, and it's like she's personally waving goodbye to you and reminding you that the mansion is full of secrets.
And that's specific to Orlando, not Disneyland. But it doesn't have that closing line from Madame Leota. Disney World added it as a little Easter egg for returning guests, keeping the spirit of the mansion alive even as you leave. They want you to feel magical and personal.
And here's a little behind-the-scenes tidbit that I think a lot of people don't really know. The Imagineers originally wanted Madame Leota's face to match her voice. And I think it was actually Walt Disney himself, because I think we learned about this on the Keys to the Kingdom tour that we did. I think it was actually Walt himself. But they wanted Madame Leota's voice and face to match. Makes sense. They actually based her floating head on a medium's appearance that they had found. The sculpted crystal ball head was designed with that face in mind. But when they recorded the dialogue, they realized that the original person's voice didn't have the right tone for the ride. It wasn't spooky or commanding enough.
So instead, they casted Eleanor Audley, who had the perfect mix of mystery, theatrical, and mischief. Her voice gave Madame Leota that commanding presence while still being playful and slightly eerie. And that's exactly what Walt and the Imagineers wanted. The face and the voice didn't match in real life, but the combination worked perfectly in the ride, creating a character that feels alive and unforgettable.
Yeah, the face in the crystal ball she was an Imagineer, and I should have written down her name, and I'm so sorry. But she was a real person that worked for Walt. And her voice can be heard in the ride, even though Eleanor Audley did the voice for the crystal ball scene in the seance room. When you hear in Orlando, you hear the hurry back, be sure to bring your death certificate. That's the voice that goes with the face. So you do get to hear the voice, and you can tell when you hear that voice, the hurry back. It's like high pitched and kind of sweet sounding, which didn't match the face. So now you know that her voice actually is heard later on in the ride. So that's just a little example of the level of care that went into creating the Haunted Mansion. Every single detail, it was coordinated so the illusion is seamless. And like I said, the Orlando riders do get to hear a little bit of her real voice.
Yeah, and this ride that was opened in the late 60s and early 70s, it's astonishing how timeless it still is. Like we said, we've probably rode this ride hundreds of times, and we still love it every single time we get anticipated of going on.
And before we wrap up, I think we should mention a few quick exterior details that you might see while you're in the queue. And I wonder if I already put about Madame Leota's gravestone. But let's start with Disneyland in Anaheim.
Okay, so the pet cemetery near the exit path is easy to miss, but it's filled with small animal gravestones, each one with its own personality and quiet humor. It's like a miniature extension of the graveyard scene and sign.
Yeah, and then there are tombstones in the queue, which are actually tributes to the Imagineers. You'll see names like Yale Gracey, recognize that last name? And Raleigh Crump, who those names are worked into the tombstones. They're not random names. They're the creators leaving their mark in a way that fits the story.
And there are also stone bones along the walkway. Busts. They look eerily decorative figures, but they're styled likeness of the Imagineers themselves. It's one of the details that feels hidden in plain sight.
Yeah, and one of the most intentional details is the house itself. It's perfectly maintained, and that was a decision from the man himself, Walt Disney. He didn't want a decaying haunted house. The contrast between the pristine exterior and what's inside is part of the storytelling. And now let's talk about Leota, and I think we already mentioned this one, sorry.
So she's going to be located right before you go in, on the left. And if you watch closely, her eyes will open and glow, and you can hear her faintly speaking. It's like she's already trying to contact you right before you enter the mansion.
Yeah, and we already alluded to this a little bit before, but in the queue, if it's a long line, you go to that extra part of the queue where it's more interactive, and there's a musical crypt. You can touch the instruments on the tombs. They play notes, and if you know what you're doing, you can actually piece together parts of Grim Grinning Ghosts. It's very clever.
And there's a family crypt sequence which you can follow generations of family through the tombstones. One adds a little piece to the story, and if you read them in order, it tells a complete, slightly dark narrative.
So at the end of the day, the Haunted Mansion isn't just a ride, it's an experience, and it starts before you even walk through the door.
So I would like to talk about my favorite is they only do this at Disneyland Haunted Mansion, and it's only during Christmas.
I can't believe I didn't put this in.
I know this is my
God, it's my favorite too. Okay,
and it's only during Christmas.
No, it's Halloween and Christmas.
Oh, Halloween, Christmas.
Yeah, it starts I think in September.
Okay,
and it goes through the end of the year.
Okay, so Halloween and Christmas, they redecorate the Haunted Mansion in the style and theme of
The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Nightmare Before Christmas. Jack Skellington and everything.
And
it's
Sally.
One of my favorite decorated rides.
It's called the Haunted Mansion Holiday Layover. So it's only in Anaheim. And yeah, they do it for Halloween and Christmas because The Nightmare Before Christmas is a little Halloween, a little Christmas.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. We're not joking. They literally redo the entire ride.
Yeah.
Although they do keep Madame Leota, but it's Miss Piggy.
Yeah.
And Jack Skellington is walking, what's the dog, Zero? Outside of the graveyard. The entire ride is made over. It's incredible, actually. Yeah. It's incredible.
And what about Paris?
Yeah, they do the Phantom Manor in Paris. So we did that. We we will give our secret in 2 minutes. And we figured out the secret in Paris.
Yeah.
They had the stretching room. The story was different, but I'd say the general layout was the same. You go through the conservatory. They had the ballroom. They had an attic, right? They had a graveyard scene.
Yeah, the graveyard scene was more like
wasn't a graveyard necessarily. It was like a downtown
ghost town.
Yeah, so it was a little different, but it was like the same basic flow. Half in English, half in French, which was very cool. But I didn't understand the story. I had no idea what was happening. I actually had to Google it.
Yeah.
And that's because I'm dumb sometimes. I just couldn't pick up on the visual cues. And I think the basic backstory was there was a bride who, every time she went to marry a man, he died. Like the house killed him, I think, or something like that. I don't know. But it was really cool. It was a really cool variation on the Haunted Mansion. And I do believe there's a Haunted Mansion in Disneyland, Tokyo, which we'll find out about in July. Yeah. Actually, you're hearing this in July. Actually, this might be while we're in Tokyo by the time I get this scheduled, because we're scheduling right around that time in July. This is May 2nd. So sorry, we record in advance. But yeah, so we'll let you know about that one maybe in a future episode. But now I think you've waited long enough. This episode is 44 minutes.
But it's worth it.
It was worth it. But so okay. And
you can't tell anyone. This is just between us and you listeners.
Yeah, don't tell anybody, because you don't want people to know your secret.
Yeah.
But so you go in the ride, you enter the room, you get into the stretching room. Look for the picture of the ballerina on the wall, because that's where the door is going to open. And there are 2 stretching rooms in Orlando, and the ballerina is in a different spot in each one.
Yeah.
So go to the ballerina, because that's where the door is going to open to the ride, where you go queue to get into the Doom buggies.
And it will save you probably 5 to 10 minutes waiting in line.
Yeah, because if you're on the opposite side, everybody has to merge and shuffle through like these double doors. So if you're on the other side, you have to go through a big crowd, but you'll be ahead of the crowd if you stand by the ballerina.
Yep.
Don't tell anybody. This is top secret information. Yes. We're just telling you specifically next time you go, and this will save you time. And it's the same for Anaheim. And actually, it was the same for Disneyland Paris, but it wasn't a ballerina, because the stretching room pictures were different. I forget what it was, but we figured it out on the first time we were watching. Yeah. And then by the second time we figured it out, and we were able to bust right through the line. So there you have it. Our deep dive into the Haunted Mansion. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, too bad. We're going to do another one on Chris's favorite ride coming up. Maybe we'll do that next.
Yeah.
Yeah. So stay tuned to hear what that is, and hope you liked it. He's like itching to say, see you later, alligator.
All right. See you later, alligator.
In a wild crocodile. Give a hug, ladybug. What was it? I forget what I said at the beginning. Whatever. Bye, you guys.